Hey, folks, John Kelly. Welcome back to the Law Enforcement Life Coach. Sometimes Heroes Need Help podcast. I am sitting down with Sergeant John Mattingly, retired John Mattingly. 12 Seconds in the Dark, a police officer's firsthand account of the Breonna Taylor Raid. Listen, if you think you know, man, you don't. You get fed what the media pumps out, man. And if nobody corrects them, if there isn't leadership in place to fight back with facts, if you repeat a lie long enough, it becomes the truth, man. And Sergeant John Mattingly and his crew, they were victims of a lie, man, that kept getting perpetuated. And it could have been stopped easily, man, if we just had some courageous leadership, man. We didn't. So John wrote a book, man. It's so insightful. It really covers so many things. We're so lucky to have him here with us. We're gonna talk about that day, what led up to it, what happened, and the fallout after. And I am 100% guaranteed that after this conversation, you're gonna know what happened on March 13th, 2020, and not the lies and the bullshit that you've been fed from media. So without further ado, John Mattingly, thanks, brother. I appreciate your time.
Yeah, John, thanks for having me, man.
Yeah, it's I first I got to apologize because you're like life. Everybody's got life, man, right? And shit's going on, and if we don't intentionally stop and question and ask, Johnny, I believe the narrative, man. Like, you guys fucked up that day. I actually thought you were at the wrong apartment. That was a fucking narrative that got thrown out there. I'm like, oh, these guys, they fucking got sideways, man. They got, you know what I mean? And it's just, so before we get into all that, John, just a little history on you, man, because I know you spent some time at Louisville Metro, right?
Oh yeah, 21 years there.
Yeah, man. And this is what I like, man. You spent some time doing the job. And then, you had this goal. You wanted to go to their set or Flex or Viper. And man, you started doing all the things that you needed to do to weave yourself into a position to actually be a supervisor there.
Right.
So in a nutshell, Johnny, the time at Louisville Metro up until March 13th, if you would.
Yes, I mean, I came on in 2000, June of 2000. Like most new guys, went to late watch, worked that midnight to 8 a.m. shift, and we run that horrible 6 days on, 2 days off rotation. So the family life was sparse because you're already working overtime or off duty. We didn't have a lot of overtime back then, but a lot of extra work to make ends meet because back then police pay was even worse than it is now. I mean, it was pennies. It was horrible. But I love the job. It's something I always wanted to do, but I did wait till I was 27 to do it. I already had 3 small kids at home. I think it was a huge advantage for me because at 21, I probably wasn't ready.
Right.
We're all that type A egotistical guys, and we don't want to get our feelings hurt or our egos bruised. So by the age of 27, it had been bruised plenty, and I'd been checked enough in life that I was able to at least understand and relate to the real world. Had another advantage. I grew up in a very impoverished community that had a lot of crime, and I got to see that growing up and see the route I didn't want to take. And
you were no stranger to that.
Right. No, none. And it incentivized me to be a cop because I saw the injustices by these street thugs, man, and I couldn't stand it. It used to make me mad even as a kid. So, it's something in you. If it's a calling, it's not just a job, but it's a calling and it's something you love. And it's something I always wanted to do. So when I did, I went to late watch for about 5.5 years. And I wanted to get to a plainclothes unit, right? These drug unit, these jump out boys, that kind of stuff that you saw.
Yeah, man.
And so that's what I did. I jumped on a flex unit and I did that for 4 years. So in 2009, 9 years on the job, my boss came to me and she was like, "Hey, are you going to take the promotional test?" And I was like, "Heck no, man. I got a great crew."
Yeah, I'm doing what I love. I don't want to get taken out of it, right?
Great guys around me. We're hitting 5, 6, 7 doors a week. We're busy. We're just going. I loved it.
Yeah.
She was like, "Well, look around, dude. Who do you see they're promoting?" I said, "A bunch of idiots."
Right.
And she went, Okay, do you want to work for them or with them? And I'm like,
Oh,
oh, ding,
isn't
ding,
that the
ding.
sell, man? That's the sell
Man,
right there. You
it didn't
know,
take much for anybody with a little bit of brain to go, yeah, you're right.
right?
I can make a difference here or above me. So
Yeah.
I took the test, and my stubbornness never allowed me to take the lieutenant's test because, again, I went to these units after I got promoted where I was able to do almost the exact same thing I was doing before, staying busy,
Yeah.
having that adrenaline dump every day.
Right.
So I did go back to late watch for a year. Couldn't stand it after that because my
Right.
body was older. I'd been
Oh,
out of
bro.
it for a while, and I was like, "Oh man, this is killing me, man." So I dip my toe into our normal detectives unit in a division. So
Right.
we did everything except homicides and business robberies, and I got a good feel for that for about a year and a half. And a feel
That'll
is what I
round you
mean.
out a
I'm
little
not a
bit, bro.
desk guy.
Yeah.
At least I got to see how the other side worked. I got to do the Comstat meetings downtown, which was nothing but a clown show and a bunch of lies by the majors. So my eyes were opened up, kind of like, you peek behind the curtain of
Yeah, you
Oz
go,
and go,
man. None of this
this
shit's
is a bunch of
legit.
BS.
Yeah, none of it's
Oh,
real, man.
horrible. And so I went back and I was like, you know what? I've had enough of this suit and tie and paperwork junk. That's not why I became a cop. So I went
Right.
back to Flex unit as a sergeant, was able to hit doors again. 2012 came and our crime in the city, like around the country, was starting to spike, get out of control. And we know whose second administration that was.
Yeah,
When you
man.
felt it on the street too, the respect for law enforcement was gone. The
Everything,
young guys
everybody was
coming up,
hesitating, bro.
it was
Everybody was
horrible.
hesitating. Everybody was second guessing. Yeah, man.
Yeah. And the respect level, nobody cared about cops. They were like, F you. Where it used to be like, there was even a chain of command on the street. And I would go to the
Dude.
old guys on the street and be like, hey, man, what is going on here? These career criminals that at least we had respect for one another. They knew where I stood. I knew where they stood.
Yeah, man.
And I had enough dialogue with them that I could go and say, man, what's going on in these streets? And they're like, dude, I don't know. We're scared of these young cats. And these
Yeah.
are seasoned 35, 40-year-old hardened criminals that are scared of 15-year-olds because they're like, it used to be shot callers made the calls. You had to get permission to do certain things. And these dudes are out of control. And
Wild
nothing's
West,
changed.
man. Wild
Yeah, it's just
West.
gotten worse and worse.
Right.
So they started what's called a Viper unit because a few years prior they had done away with our street crimes unit because the public said they were too
Right,
aggressive.
man.
And so they had to bring it back. But
Reap what you sow, man. You
They
reap
couldn't name
what
it
you
that because
sow.
they'd have to admit they were wrong.
Right.
You know? And these guys are too egotistical to ever say, oops, we messed up.
Yeah, man.
So if they would do that, they would have a lot more respect from the public and the officers that work for them. But
No
they
doubt.
didn't do it. So they changed it to Viper. It was a violent crime unit. And man, I tell you, John, that was the hardest I've worked in the 3 years that I did that. Was the hardest I worked on the department,
Right.
but the best time I ever had. The most dangerous. And I thought for sure if I get shot or have to shoot somebody, it's during this time. Because we were in shootings. Fortunately, I wasn't part of them.
Right.
I was there at the scene, but I didn't have to do it.
Right.
And we were going against the worst of the worst. If there was a homicide or a shooting or a robbery, they called us. We went.
You were
and found them.
scooping them up, man. You were
Oh, dude.
going on. You were
It
going after
was a
the
blast.
murderers. Right, man.
Yeah, it was a blast. So I did that until command change happened downtown, and we had a new colonel come in, and naturally they wanted to reinvent the wheel and change the way we did things in that unit, and just totally messed it up. So I was like,
Yeah, man.
I'm out of here. I got to go. So I went back
Yeah.
to a flex division. I did that for about a year, and then I went to major case narcotics in late 2016. And then in 2019, near the end of it, I had just switched over to our parcel interdiction unit.
Okay.
Because I thought, man, I've been going 100 miles an hour for 20 years. My number's probably up, right? There's only so
Right.
many.
Yeah,
chances,
time to pump the
so many
brakes, bro.
doors.
Yeah,
Dude,
time
yeah,
to pump the brakes.
My body's tired. I'm approaching 50. I'm approaching close to the end of my career. Let's dwindle this thing down. But I'm still staying under the umbrella of narcotics. I can still
Right.
help with investigations. I can still do warrants to scratch that itch. Because once you get a taste of that adrenaline, man, it's like a drug. It's hard to put it
It
up.
is a drug, bro. It is a drug.
So that's what I did until 2020.
Okay, so the parcel interdiction, if it's not hidden in a vehicle, somebody's using UPS or FedEx.
Dude, the largest drug suppliers in the country is FedEx, UPS, and the U.S. Mail by far.
Yeah, man. There are not enough dogs, detectives, and staffing to catch the amount of contraband that's being shipped
Yeah,
around
so
the country. Yeah.
we're the central hub for UPS in Louisville. 3 million packages a day come through
Oh,
there.
no kidding. I didn't know that.
They would
John.
only allow us in there one night a week, and we only had like 4 hours to get it done because the way the planes come in and they deboard them, send them on other planes out to other areas. We had to figure this stuff out. I mean, it was a quick moving thing, but it was like Christmas every week, opening packages. So we only got about 20 warrants a week on these packages, and every single week a 6-foot table would stack to the ceiling full of dope out of 20 packages. It blew my mind how much was out there.
That's insane.
You know, I knew it from the street there was a lot, but once you see behind there, you're like, holy crap, we're not even scratching the surface.
Yeah, man. I just be thankful you didn't work the border, bro, because you probably it would have been heartbroken if you worked the border.
It's like digging a hole in the sand, right? And the water just keeps filling
all
in.
Day, man, all day. So you gotta listen. Having the time of your life, bro. Having the right. Yeah, and I believe like you get assignments when it's time for you to have that assignment. I worked a patrol dog, an apprehension dog in the 90s in South Florida. Dude, we would every night, man, we were eating people. And I don't want to be doing that in 2024, bro. Right? Oh. You know, different time, man, different times. So 100%. different assignments, different times. And it sounds like you landing and getting this package parcel interdiction unit. Perfect timing, man. It coincides with everything. But with that being said, man, you still have the ability to work warrants and help out other you, because correct me if I'm wrong, Johnny, but this was like a request to assist, right?
Yeah. It was a new unit they had just created. It's called place-based investigations, and it was a pilot
let me
program.
Stop you there, bro.
Yeah.
So I got place-based investigations, and that's a euphemism for something that we all know. It's selective enforcement, man.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. I mean, you can call it what you want, but I mean, so tell me a little bit more about place-based investigations, man.
Yeah. So it was a pilot program out of Cincinnati. They're the ones that kind of flagship this thing.
Okay.
And basically, if John Kelly is an issue and we're getting reports on him and he's just a pain in the butt in the community and doing some bad things, this unit was supposed to target in on John.
Yeah.
Right. And then put their blinders on and focus on you, the problem, until you're in jail, prison, or the problem stopped. You know, until there's a solution to this issue, this problem, this person that's causing these issues, that's your goal, nothing else. So it's very surgical. It was supposed to go in and take the main problems out of certain problem areas that would hopefully solve some of these things. But that's when we realized, I didn't realize at the time, but now looking back, we realized that unit got created just because the mayor needed some dirty work done and the police department didn't know about it.
Right. And so if there's a development or a construction project going on and there are a bunch of residences and apartments that we need to have classified as nuisance so we can remove the occupants for this project, they're letting loose the place-based investigation squad on a specific area.
Yeah.
To give them the stats and the ammunition to bring in a development project next year.
Yeah. So what we learned in hindsight was, and I've got the documents to prove this.
Yeah, I know you do, bro. There's a bunch of people got nervous, man.
Dude, it's unreal. So what the mayor did is he started the very first investigation for this brand new unit was initiated by the mayor's office, which was kind of odd. You know, if the mayor's office receives
the mayor's office know about
they'll
this.
They'll filter it down through the police department. It comes to us eventually. First time in my career, I'm sitting in my cubicle working one day, and I see a chain of people come in. 3 of our lieutenant colonels and an assistant mayor. And I'm thinking, the heck are they doing in our office? They never, in 20 years, have never come in.
They don't even know where that building is, bro.
And so it didn't just happen once. This was every Monday from there on out. I'm thinking, what in the heck is the mayor's office doing in the police department every Monday getting briefed on the updates on this case? Well, come to find out, they had already acquired all the properties on this block except for 2 houses. And guess where, coincidentally, this first investigation that the mayor's office is checking up on every week is at? It's those 2 houses. Yeah, now, the city has them now. They already got them, tore them down since all the debacle of 2020.
Right.
But come to find out, they got this whole snowball rolling, man. They got it moving, and then they backed off because once it was brought to light, the gentrification that was taking place by the mayor's office, that's when they settled the lawsuit prematurely
Yeah, man.
for an absorbent amount of money behind closed doors in the middle of the night. City council knew nothing about it. This was a shady deal, just like the rest of it, just like all the contracts that the mayor was giving out to friends and family. Same thing.
So
And
this whole
actually,
so the 20th, March 13th, 2020 starts really. I mean, you
December.
guys are just doing your job.
Yeah, had
But
no idea.
but there's
Zero
a whole
clue.
political machine, um, like acting like the puppeteer, like
Yeah,
directing you guys on, oh, we want to do this, we want to do that, and what about this guy, and so you
unknown
end up,
cons.
yeah, you end up coming to that apartment. Was it an apartment?
Yeah, it was an apartment. So when they sent it out, I looked at the addresses and it was like there were 5 places total. It was like ghetto, 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 ghetto. This apartment 10 miles away, and I thought, man, I don't want to go to trap houses in the middle of the night. I've done
Right,
this my whole career. I'm done with that. Give me the easy one. So I
right,
thought, give me the
yeah,
easy one, the apartment 10 miles away. It's got a
right.
female. Piece
And
of cake.
what was so? What was the nexus to tie in with Breonna
Yeah.
Taylor and that
And Jamarcus
apartment?
Glover. Yeah, so Jamarcus Glover was the main target. Breonna Taylor was the apartment I was at, and that's a question I get a lot.
Yeah,
And if you're looking at it from an investigative standpoint, you look at it and go, "Oh, slam dunk, piece of cake." So Jamarcus Glover had dated Breonna Taylor off and on for 7 years. Okay,
was
he was
he
still
was
dating
he
her.
was he another target that night?
He was the main target
Okay,
of the
gotcha,
houses that the mayor needed. So he
gotcha,
was the main target. He wasn't the boyfriend that was at her apartment that night, even
gotcha.
though she was kind of seeing both.
Yeah,
And so his ID had her address on it. His car was registered to her house. His phone service was registered to her. His bank account
understood.
was her address. In January of 2020, 2 months prior to this, he got locked up for 7 weapons, fentanyl, cocaine, marijuana, and it was his 7th arrest in just a couple of years in the city for the exact same thing. They just kept letting him out, letting him out. Breonna Taylor bonded him out in January. 2 months prior to this, gave her address as his address, her phone number as his phone number. So if you're standing back investigating and all these things are pointing there, they knew she probably wasn't selling because they've been watching.
Right.
But her car had gone back and forth several times from her house to the trap house with him and her in it. He had used her car to go there. At one point, they've got pictures of him going in empty-handed, coming out with parcels from the United
Yeah,
States Postal Service.
it's a no brainer. We're hitting the
Oh
house.
yeah,
We're hitting
going
the
straight to the
apartment.
trap house. Yeah,
Okay, and so that's one of 5 targets that night, right?
correct.
We're going to hit them all at roughly the same time, right? That's the goal.
Right. 3 main ones at the same time, and the other 2 were going to be right after.
Okay, and so you and your boys, I thought it was crazy. This whole the whole no knock warrant issue came up, and I was just like, I know why we do no knock warrants, right?
Right.
Preservation of life and evidence, right? We hit it,
Right.
we fucking hit it hard. But that wasn't the case that night.
No. No. Now the 2 that SWAT were hitting simultaneously with ours were being executed as no knock.
Yeah.
Ours was a knock and announce. Originally signed as a no knock, but it had been redacted because it no longer fit the parameters. They knew the main target, who was the reason for the no knock, from his dangerous activity, his arrest, his fleeing from police, all that stuff.
Right.
He wasn't going to be there. They had a tracker on his car, ping on his phone. They knew he was down on Elliott Avenue where the other houses were.
Right.
So they told us in the brief, it was even on the board, knock and announce. So I took a picture of the board. Thank God I did, because
Smart,
nobody would
John.
believe.
Smart, because that board gets erased quick, bro.
Oh yeah, it does. And so thank God I took a picture of that and had it, because right after they were like, "Does anybody have a picture of the board?" I'm like, "Heck yeah, I do it every time. Here it is."
How about
And
that?
so the matter of fact, in the brief they said it's a heavy set black female. She's home alone, no dogs, no weapons, no boyfriends, no kids. Right? Easy piece of cake. They said, matter of fact, don't just knock and announce. Give her extra time to come to the door because she's heavy set. So she may get on the
That was my follow up. Every knock and announce It's boom, boom, boom. Sheriff's office search warrant. Boom, boom, boom. Sheriff's office search warrant.
Bam.
2-1, hit it. You
Yep.
were almost at the door for a minute, pounding and
Felt like
announcing,
eternity.
pounding and announcing,
Right.
pounding and announcing. And the reason why was because there was that additional information. She's likely by herself, heavy set. Give her time to respond to the door.
Yeah.
Okay,
Mistake.
that makes sense. Not ideal, man.
Right.
Puts you in jeopardy, obviously, but I can understand why somebody would want you to extend that courtesy. Maybe,
Yeah.
I guess.
I get it. Yeah.
So you're doing your thing, man. Were you
Well,
like just
Intel is
shitting,
flawed.
bro? Were you just like shitting at that front door going, this is fucking stupid?
Well, initially I thought, boom, 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 because her light was on the bedroom. You could see the TV flickering. Her car was
Yeah.
out front. So I thought, well, she's probably here. Bang on the door, normal. Before we announced, just trying to normal not get her there
Right.
so the neighbors didn't come out. Because you know how it is when you're doing warrants.
I do.
You make all the noise. Everybody's
And
phones out.
you don't want the
Nobody wants to
neighborhood out
see.
on you.
No. And so when we knocked the first couple of times, I thought, well, crap, she's knocking on the door. Maybe she's asleep. So then it started the police knocked up. Boom, 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 boom.
Right.
Yelling, police search warrant, come to the door, police search warrant. And as soon as we did, a neighbor popped out from upstairs. What are y'all doing? An argument ensued between one of the cops to my right. I couldn't see him because I was underneath the staircase.
Understood.
Underneath the porch. And so this argument's taking place. So the neighbor heard it upstairs, yet they're saying they couldn't hear us inside here. Makes zero sense.
Right.
But thank God he came out because he actually gave initially and in the first trial gave a statement that, yeah, police were announcing that's the way
He's verifying that you are knocking and announcing.
Now, the amazing thing is in the federal trial, he recanted that and said, oh, I didn't hear him. And then as he walks out, he looks at Breonna Taylor's mom, pounds his chest, and gives her the
Of course, man. Yeah. Some shit, man. So you knock and announce. You're there for a minute, and then finally your partner says, like, dude, get out of the way. We're gonna hit it.
Yeah. I look back at the lieutenant who was on scene because we were kind of a hodgepodge group of guys. You know, when they send those emails out, it's not your team that you're used to doing warrants with. It's who's available. We had about 50 detectives there, plus the entire SWAT team. So there's about 100 guys total in operation. We had 7 on our crew. 2 of them I've worked with on several warrants, and the rest were just kind of put together.
Gotcha.
So you don't have quite that commonality or the understanding body languages that you get so used to on these. You can't really explain. It just happens.
Of course. Yeah, man.
Somebody's, if they're kind of hesitating, you're going, oh, in your mind, something's going to happen. So, we're at this door, and again, this feels like forever. About halfway through, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is a mistake. In my mind, I'm going, this ain't good. Something's up. You start getting that sense. And so finally he hits the door, and on the third hit, it busts open. Again, totally dark inside except for that little ambient light coming down from this long, narrow, dark hallway. And I'm able to clear the living room from outside of the doorway because you don't want to step in that fatal funnel too soon.
Oh, man.
It's never.
You want to move through that, right?
That
Yeah, you want to move through that. Absolutely.
So by the time I scanned right to left and I ran out of real estate, I could no longer see down this hall. And as soon as I turned that corner to go down that hall, I see 2 figures down this hall standing in wait, one taller, one shorter. And as my gun light gets to the first individual, the tall one, I saw the tip of that gun and my brain went, oh shit. And then by that time it was too late.
Yeah, man.
Everything's so quick. Just
Johnny, action, reaction, man. You are playing catch up.
Because it felt like in my mind, I released those rounds about as quick as he did. It was like bam, 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 and unfortunately he had time to dive out of the way into this room. Yeah. And as Breonna's following him in there, trying to get out of the way, that's when she got struck and went down.
Right.
And I did catch a shot. A lot of people don't even know.
Yeah, no. So you took a potentially fatal round to the thigh.
Well, yeah, it ripped right through the femoral artery.
Yeah, and you get yourself out of there. You've got some partners that help you. I'm fast forwarding through a lot of this, John. EMS was staging because that's what they do, right? We'll always have EMS staging, and it's taken them forever. right? It's
forever.
probably only a minute, but it seems like it's forever.
No, it actually took them about 6 minutes.
Are you
They were
shitting
about, they
me?
were they were maybe a quarter mile away, half mile away. There was two young guys on the crew, and I knew when I pulled up, I saw them. One of them had headphones in, the other one's on his phone. I couldn't even get their attention to roll down the window to let them know we were there to make
Right.
sure we were on the same page. Both young, and I told one of the guys when we were doing our second brief on location, I went, "Man, I hope they don't have to save our lives because they just seem like they don't know what they're doing." And
No,
sure enough, they
man.
didn't. They
No.
didn't send us. They just sent us a life saving crew. There was no paramedic on board, so it was just a very basic. They put a band-aid on you and get you to
Yeah,
the
man.
hospital.
But St. Michael was with you that night, man.
100%. Yeah, man. When we got in the back of that ambulance, they didn't know what they were doing, and it was a funny conversation between them because I finally looked at one dude and was like, "Man, am I your first gunshot victim?" And he got real close to my face. He said, "To be honest, you are." And I'm like, "Well,
Oh,
let's not screw this up because it's the first time I've been shot." And I swear to God, about that time, the back doors opened, and it was like lights of heaven came in, and there was two paramedics. They had that much time to respond for EMS to get there that the fire truck showed up.
yeah, no
And they
doubt.
were the ones that got in. They pushed the EMS guy out of the way, and they went to work. Man, those paramedics were awesome.
Yeah, tourniquets and whatever they needed to do, man.
Yeah.
Um, that's all. Let me hold right here. I'm hearing me coming through your
You want
stereo
me
or
to
so.
to switch to headphones
Yeah, you know what, John? Because I'm starting to hear me
through mine? So you
through
get an echo.
yours.
Okay,
Yeah.
give me just a second.
Take your time, John.
I'm good. See if I can get these hooked up because mine were dead for some reason.
Yeah, bro. If I mean, I don't hear me now.
Is it when my mic's closer, maybe?
Maybe. I
Tell you
don't
what, I
know.
can also.
Testing 1 2 3 1 2 3. All right, now, John, I don't hear me coming back in that mic at all now.
Well, let me turn this down a little bit too. That would help because I can hear you.
Okay.
Talk to me now.
Hey, John. Hey, John. 1 2 3
Yep.
1 2 3.
That should be better too because
All
that's
right.
much better.
Yeah, I was starting to get a little feedback, and I was like, I don't want that, man.
Yeah.
Um,
All right.
so we were talking about being in the back of the bus, and thank God, the paramedics, the firefighter paramedics, they pushed the EMS guys out of the way and say, we got him.
Yep. Yep. Man, they did their thing, got me down to the hospital. And again, the stupid stuff you think about when you're going through this. My biggest concern when I got to the hospital, besides getting this tourniquet off, because that sucker hurt a lot worse than the gunshot did. I'll tell you
Isn't
what.
that crazy, bro?
And it's horrible, but it saved my life, so I'm thankful for it.
Right.
But man, the thing I was worried about, we're a training hospital. It's the best trauma center in Kentucky. So if they can get you there, you're probably going to stay alive unless it's just so, catastrophic.
Right.
But they get me there. And it dawned on me because I've been in room 9, which is the trauma room, many times, and everybody comes to it because they want to see the damage, right?
The life-saving surgery, man. Yeah.
And it's always young females because they're the ones in training for nursing and stuff like that. I get
Right.
in there and I go, they're cutting my pants off, and there's 40 young females right in front of me. That's what I'm thinking about. Not staying alive. I'm like, crap.
Yeah,
You know,
man.
I
Not one of
lost a
your
lot of blood.
proudest moments, man. So like,
No, I lost a
you
lot of
know,
blood. What's it take for this organ to work? You know what I'm
oh
saying?
my God, you can tell him you got the
My
Irish
excuse.
curse, bro. You got the
Oh,
Irish
that's my
curse.
excuse, buddy. I
Holy shit.
disappointed a few people that day, I think.
That's funny, man. Oh, I know. That's what you're thinking, right? You got a potentially fatal gunshot wound, and you're worrying about the gallery passing judgment on your ethnicity.
Telling all the friends afterwards, yeah, I saw that guy. All of
Yeah,
them.
yeah,
Yeah.
Mattingly. Yeah, not a big deal, literally. Oh God, man. So they do an amazing job, man.
Yes. Awesome. About a 5 hour surgery, 5.5 hour surgery. They took a vein out of my leg and replaced the 4 inches of the artery with that. So, man, and I'm still a little numb. That'll never go away because of nerve damage. But,
Right.
dude, I can do anything I could do before. It's amazing.
That's great, man. And listen, thank God. And you and I kind of joked a little bit before we hit record. Uh, you getting shot was a godsend.
Yeah.
And that's for people to in this profession, if you don't get hurt, you don't get justice if you don't get hurt. And sometimes even when you do get hurt, you don't get justice. But you're
There's no justice in this case.
definitely not getting it if you don't get hurt.
When they
So
pay the guy who shot you $2 million and show you the door, there's a problem.
yeah,
And that's
man.
what happened here. The guy who shot me is now a millionaire instead of going to prison. And, people like us are scrambling to find work and ways to make ends meet.
So Walker is I'm just going to refer to him as Walker.
Yep,
He's the shooter.
correct.
And the controversy, there are many issues that get reported inaccurately. One that Breonna, and can we just say this, John? Breonna Taylor didn't have to die that day. That was
No,
that was tragic, man.
victim of circumstance,
Wrong
100%.
place, wrong time. But
And a
she,
jackass boyfriend who should never shot
yeah,
at the cops.
yeah, she died. It's called in Florida we call it felony murder. When you conduct a felony, when you commit a felony, whoever's with you, if they die, you get charged with their
Yeah,
death.
should have been.
That's common law, man, across the country.
Yep.
When you shoot at the police, and if somebody else dies as a result of that, you get charged with their death. It's for as long as the day is. That's the law. He shoots at you, you return fire. She's at the wrong place in the wrong time, and she unfortunately succumbs to her injuries.
Correct.
Tragic.
Fortunately, and I will say this, John. Fortunately, I think the only bullet of mine that struck her was either in her left arm or left leg, ankle. I can't remember which one. I think it's the left arm, forearm, as
Right.
she was moving over. The guy who stepped up behind me and immediately opened fire,
Right.
he's unfortunately the one that killed her.
Right. Um, and this is what people got to understand. And obviously, this is a law enforcement, first responder, heavy listenership. When you shoot at the police, nothing good is going to happen. Bad things are going to happen for everybody.
Right.
And so she ends up dying. But the narrative that gets reported about what it starts almost immediately. The race card gets played that somehow everything that was a fact was changed. There were a that she was sleeping in bed and that he didn't know it was the police and
The wrong apartment.
wrong apartment. And it just if a rookie, a first year rookie doing any investigative work was able to dispel all the lies that Crump and Walker stuck to. You know, he's calling his mom saying the cops are outside.
He didn't call 911 for 6.5
No,
minutes.
and
He let her bleed
the argument
out.
was that somehow this was a home invasion robbery, and so if it's a home invasion robbery, you're not shooting once,
Yeah,
or twice, and then tossing your gun and hiding. You're lighting up the whoever's coming through that door, and you're not stopping.
and hopefully, since they had 4 active service phones with them, they would have called 911 on one of them as their door's getting banged on for a minute.
You would
You
think.
know, you're not bringing your girl to the hallway to protect you.
No,
You're not leaving her there to get shot. Then when you finally come out, you're not blaming her on video. She shot, not me. She was scared.
Yeah, it's
This
just
dude's a coward.
it's troubling, man. It's troubling that the amount of information command had, and I love the fact that they put a gag order on you, but they allow the suspect, the murderer, the attempted murderer, and his attorney
To form whatever narrative they
to
want.
form the narrative and to not challenge it, because this is what happens. We know that when you challenge the narrative with the truth, you don't have to like it. You're not happy that anyone died that day, but the truth is the truth. And if we do the things the way they're supposed to be done, and bad guys do what bad guys do, then you get what you get, man.
That's it.
You get what you get.
That's part of the business.
It's a dangerous business, man. And so, thank God you're okay, physically, right? I got to imagine. Listen, I've been in a bunch of critical incidents. I've had several attempts on my life. Those nightmares are real, man. Like that. That's not a fun part of any of this, right? I'm hoping you navigated that and got through that in the best way possible.
Yeah, the incident itself didn't really affect me, to be honest. And, you know, I'd mentally prepared for this stuff for years.
Sure.
I've been hands-on physically, been at many shootings. So this wasn't like, oh my gosh, this just happened. You know, this was something to mentally prepare for. Where
did the nightmares come from, brother?
Oh man, it's from the betrayal by the department and city is where all the nightmares come from, where all the bitterness and anger come from, where all the discontent and the fact that you just want to say, F it, why did I give so much of my life, almost my life, for these people that hate me? You know, you start wondering that.
You know what, John?
I know I did the right thing in my career, but man, it's a bitter pill to swallow.
And so what we're talking about is physically, you're okay, man. You won this deadly force encounter. You're back home with your family. You're doing the things that you need to do to move forward. And then you find out that they don't even call you, bro. You almost like you find out like on the news that they're dropping all the charges against Walker, Tom Wine, the Commonwealth's attorney, Tom Wine. It's not charging the guy that shot you.
Yeah, even without doing the proper downloads of phones to see who he called, when he called, because we had sworn statement from an officer on scene who went to school with Kenneth Walker, knows him, still associated with him, lived in the same apartment complex as Breonna Taylor and Kenneth Walker. He knows Kenneth Walker's mother. Yeah. Kenneth Walker's mother came to the scene, saw him, ran to him, and said, according to his sworn statement, said, Kenneth called me and said they're at the door. I said, who's at the door, baby? He said, it's the police. I've got to go, and hung up. Now, the FBI has the other 2 phones in the apartment that LMPD didn't collect. They kept them. They will not release what was on them, who called to and from them. Even in this previous trial that just took place a couple of months ago, the federal judge would not allow the defense to have access to those phones to see what's on them and to see it's exculpatory evidence, and she wouldn't allow it. And so we have no idea what's on those other 2 phones. Is that where that phone call was made? Probably, because they were on the nightstands. Both of those phones were.
Right.
So it's an egregious miscarriage of justice that the FBI and the DOJ have this much control to manipulate these type of investigations and put them down a path that they want.
It's it's troubling, man. So charges get dropped against Walker.
Mhm.
Um, and then if that wasn't bad enough, and again, brother, I'm sorry, I don't mean to get you all fucking amped up, brother. I just
So
every
used
time
to it.
I think I know you.
Uh,
Every time I think about this, I just think, how I'm just talking about caring, man. Just care at a minimal, just doing the right caring for your people. You were failed. So not only did they drop the charges on Walker, but like now your command's in the wind, bro. They
yeah,
they are putting distance between you
100%.
and them. Like, hey, the day you get shot, they're by your bedside.
They're there
Photos,
for the media.
accommodations. Give
No,
you a no
no,
medal of
no.
valor on this one, Johnny.
They refused to even give me a Purple Heart because they said it's too political. They refused to give the guys who saved my life saving awards because
No,
it's
we're not doing that,
nothing.
right?
No citation, nothing. Just get
Oh,
out of the way. Just please leave. That was it.
so so now this is now when people talk about organizational betrayal and this isn't not giving you your days off, man. This is them completely turning their backs on you.
Hanging you
Um,
out to the
and and
wolves.
and you know what, man? The thing that got me hot was part of me understands that they're going to have your back for as long as it's politically advantageous for them. Like I'm a realist, man. They're scumbags, most of them, and most of them don't know what it's like to be in the fire, and so they can't appreciate being in that storm. But what really got me upset, John, and that I didn't even know was that as you were going through all of this, Command was not challenging any of the narratives that were being pumped up, not challenging any of them. And so you're allowing these lies, you're allowing this say her name bullshit to start getting traction. Um, and then there are threats, verifiable threats. There's a hit placed on you and the other two officers uh,
Right.
by Breonna's mom's motorcycle gang affiliates.
Correct.
This is like
It's a
um
movie.
some sort of like Sons of Anarchy bullshit like episode.
Yeah.
Um,
It was the
and
gathering
so
of the minds.
you've got people doing drive-bys, trash pulls, do verifying who's at that house, which is your house with your
Right.
family in it, and you're asking for. I correct me if I'm wrong, John, but did Louisville Metro did they pull? They put a security detail together for you and your family, or
Originally, they said they wouldn't. And
okay,
fortunately, I had a friend who ran our dignitary protection, who's a lot smarter than I am. And this
right?
guy wrote this letter that basically put them on the hook for
Yeah,
liability.
man. All right, that's the
And
only
that's
way
the
they were
one
going to
thing they
do it.
do understand. That's the
Yeah.
one thing the city
Yeah,
understands is liability.
that's the only way that they're going to provide that protection is that your friend eloquently wrote basically
Yes.
this is verified and you don't do anything, it's on you.
Yep.
Um
Yeah, he did a great job at it, and I'm appreciative of him because there was two different informants, and one was an active ATF informant that was embedded in the motorcycle club, had already been buying on an OSADEF case
since
illegal guns
something
from this
like
club.
somebody's just guessing that this is what's going on. This is somebody
They're
inside
present,
the inside the
present.
gang saying, yeah, we just talked about hitting Mattingly.
Yeah. Yeah, it's coming from two different informants that don't even know each other with the same exact information, giving us descriptions of who came in town from Chicago, from Sin City, the descriptions
Yeah,
of
they're not
cars,
going
the
to use
motorcycles.
local hitters. They're going to use out of town
No.
hitters.
Yep.
I mean, come on, man. And so, not only so, John, you did an amazing job. Um, things don't always end well, but now your family's in the crosshairs, bro.
It's a lot worse than one of us being in it because we're used to it,
Oh
right?
yeah,
We're
John.
callous to this stuff. We're like, bring it, whatever.
Right? Yeah.
Man, when your daughters and parents and wife and young son, when they're all put under this microscope. Their
Yeah.
stuff's been
How many
doxed.
Mattingleys do we have in Louisville?
Well,
Right.
there's a few.
Okay. Well,
Yeah, there's
but
a
a
few. Thank
bunch of them
God.
that aren't related are wishing they,
Yeah,
holy shit, Mattingly.
yeah,
No, I'm not that Mattingly.
yeah. The other
Yeah,
guy with
man.
the John Mattingly, poor guy. Sorry.
Oh,
Yeah,
sorry, dude. Oh my
yeah.
God. And so your family, I'm reading and I'm going, again, this is a bad movie, man. You got to pack up your family sometimes in the middle of the night because there's
No, no.
verifiable information, like the hits happening like
Yeah, and
within hours.
when we asked the department, we're like, "All right, you've told me to get out of my house. Where am I going?" They're
Right.
like, "Let's see. We can put you in the middle of downtown where we just had 7 people shot on the first night of the riots, and it's crazy. They're walking around with pictures of your face, saying they
Oh,
want to
wait a minute.
kill
I
you."
saw it. You put in the book. There's a wanted poster of
Yeah,
you and the other two officers
yeah.
circulating.
And they're carrying them around on big signs. They're like, "Well, we've got a contract with this hotel downtown that gives us a break. We'll put you there for a couple of weeks."
Good.
I'm like,
Yeah.
thanks, but no thanks, buddy.
Freaking
Appreciate it.
wanted photos.
Yeah,
They did, and that whole freedom of information. They had your address.
yeah, that everything. So it was time to get out of town. I made some calls and finally found somebody that had a place for me a couple hours away. Middle of the night, we're loaded up, and it's like a caravan of cars going down the highway with police escort. Unmarked cars, obviously.
Yeah, of
And
course.
and so yeah, we get there like 4:30 in the morning. I'm standing outside my car after we take stuff in. I'm looking in the sky, going, "Man, is this real life?" I mean, it felt like I was detached from my body. But then I thought, well, this is great though. At least the best investigative agency in the world is on it, the FBI. Man,
Yeah, right.
I was naive, right? I was totally naive as to how much the politics were going to play into this thing. Because less than 10 days later, FBI closed the case because they said the optics looked too bad going after a national victim's mother.
Right.
And all they did to be able to close the case was they tried to discredit the informant and the agent that brought
The
the
agent
informant.
that's embedded with the gang.
It's crazy.
Come on,
It's,
man. And
I
this
mean,
is the thing, man.
couldn't believe it.
John, this is what gets everybody's Irish up, man. Like, you did everything right. Can you imagine if you did, John? Can you imagine if you did something wrong? Can you imagine if you did just ever so slight? Can you imagine if you were 90%? You were 100% right, brother.
Yeah.
Can you imagine if you were 95% right?
No.
They would have hung you on that 5%, man.
They were looking for anything, man. They dug for the first of all, we had to go through state investigation, the attorney general, because the DA locally said, no, we're going to recuse ourselves because we may have had court cases with these officers. So it went to our state's attorney general office. They did a 6-month investigation, presented it to a grand jury, cleared. Simultaneously, the FBI and DOJ
Was
running their
that
own
Daniel?
investigation.
Was that Daniel Cameron?
Daniel Cameron, a black man who had the guts to stand up to Beyonce put a big thing, I think it was in the New York Times, a big one-page thing calling us out. George Clooney sending stuff. Everybody was on board against us, pressuring this man. And he's an up-and-comer in the political game.
Right.
So he honestly put his career on the line, and it did hurt him some because he ran for governor and lost. And that was the big issue they kept throwing in the public's faces. Oh, he mishandled. He lied. He let these officers off. He did this and that. No, he simply said, look, I'm the attorney general. I'm going to look at the letter of the law, the black and white of it. If it's violated, we'll present it to the grand jury. If not, we're not. And this clearly, the part of self-defense is not against the law. Just like the homeowner has a right to self-defense, police officers have a right to self-defense.
Right.
So he did the right thing, and it cost him. And I appreciate that of him.
Yeah, well, he did his job, man. He did his job, and he didn't bend to the political wind that was blowing at the time.
Yeah, but what I was going to follow that up with was simultaneously the FBI was already running their investigation.
Right.
Man, they did warrants on our Google accounts, Apple accounts, all of our social media. They were looking for anything. I'm like, wait a minute. This is
more time investigating you than the gang that
Yes.
was going to kill you and your family.
Yeah, not investigating them, putting hundreds and thousands of man hours and money into us. I'm like, this was a 2-minute window that I was involved in. 2 minutes, that's it. I wasn't
Yeah.
involved in the investigation. I wasn't involved in anything after the investigation. 2 minutes at this doorway, right? And it's going to take you a year and a half digging through all my stuff to see if you can find anything on me. And at the end of the day, I'm talking to the FBI. The only time they would talk to me, because when I had the murder for hire on me, we kept requesting meetings to attorney. Nope, can't talk to you. Nope. I'm like, can't talk to me. I'm a victim in
I'm
this
the
case.
victim here.
Nope, no
Yeah.
victim's advocate. Nope, doesn't count. I'm like, what? Just because I got a badge means I can't be a victim? This makes no sense.
Right.
So at the end of the day, the DOJ from DC, because they came in, DC handled all this, the Civil Rights Division. He looks at me and goes, you know what? We've turned over every leaf. You're a good cop. You're a good person. I'm like, well, no shit, Sherlock. It's what I've been
Yeah,
telling you
man.
for years.
I could have told you that. Yeah.
Yeah. My career should have told you that. There was nothing in it that raised red flags. There was nothing in it that said, maybe we need to dig a little deeper into this guy.
Right.
Nothing. Unblemished.
They did, unfortunately, and I didn't do a lot of research, John. I didn't do a lot of research on Brett, but they did end up indicting him. And this is the kicker. Like, he's the guy that. Am I saying it? Am I overstepping my bounds and saying he's the guy that like saved his returning fire? I mean,
no, not quite. Let me
check me on that, Johnny. Check me on that.
Let me put it right. Now, he felt he was, and that's the reason that I'll back him. So he was the third one in the stack coming up. I get shot.
Yep.
I return fire. I verbally tell them I've been hit because I'm putting pressure on my leg. I can feel the blood coming out. I mean, it's just coming out. The guy behind me had stepped up when I went down and started shooting. Well, Brett couldn't get up to that door. He was the third guy.
Okay.
And he thought, oh crap, they're getting assassinated at this doorway. As he's button hooking around the front, all he can hear is the echoes from that concrete metal staircase. All this stuff it sounded like automatic gunfire because it was so rapid for the guy who'd stepped up over me. And in his mind, he thought we were getting assassinated at the door. So he was like, I'm going to put some rounds through this windows where I thought this guy was at just to get him to quit shooting. So these guys can live.
Understood.
His bullets didn't hit anybody. They damaged drywall and glass. And this dude's been through 3 trials. And they finally got him on the last one, which was so corrupt the way they presented. I have never seen a prosecution team lie so much, be so under the table. They acted like defense attorneys, the ones we hate. That's how this prosecution from DC acted. So I can understand now from the other side of the table where people were like, dude, they falsely came after me. Because what they do is they stretch these things out for years, drain you financially, drain you mentally to the point where you're like, either you give up or they use these dirty tactics and twist things in the court to get people in prison. So now I'm going, how many people are in jail that shouldn't be? It kind of makes you wonder, man.
Yeah, it's you definitely got a different perspective being the accused.
Yeah. It opens your eyes to a lot of things that you go, we're messed up.
Yeah. That's insane that Hankinson, Brett, nobody was injured, nobody was hit, nobody.
I'm looking at life in prison. Yeah.
The guy that shot you, all charges were dropped, and he's $2 million richer for shooting a cop.
Yeah.
The guy who is trying at the moment, thinking that he's protecting what's left of his team that are getting mowed down, injures nobody and is looking to go to prison.
Yep. And the crazy thing is, so he went through state court on same charges, acquitted, less than an hour, which was crazy in our liberal city because they finally got to hear the truth. All these people were so invested in all these lies. Then when hard proof is presented to them, they all sat back and went, had no idea. And they went,
no idea.
Not guilty. Not guilty. I'll do the same thing. As that verdict's read, and he's congratulating with his attorneys, the FBI walks behind him, taps him, and goes, it's not over.
It's not over.
They left. They went through several grand juries, which I didn't know they could do, to finally get him indicted. They go to the first trial. It's a hung jury, 10 to acquit, 2 to find guilty. They retried the case, which is rare in federal court if they're not going to win a slam dunk, especially on a case where nobody's hurt. These are typically cases that the feds wouldn't even touch anyway.
Right.
We took them so many good cases with guns
Right.
and dope and shootings.
With
And they
real
went,
victims. Right.
yeah, they're like, nah, we're not going to do that one.
Right.
Yeah, they're coming in here on this basic wanton endangerment charge that they've trumped up to a civil rights violation.
Isn't
And
that
so
insane?
the second jury goes, and now the judge is not allowing things she allowed in the first trial that were pro Brett. Now she's heavily slanted in the government's favor on some things that you're scratching your head going, that's not even correct. That's
Yeah,
not,
they
that's
got to her. They got to her.
yeah, they did. Yeah, well, the threat started coming into her family, and she's got young children, is what we've heard. So
Right.
they come back, and it's a hung jury again, hung jury again. She keeps giving them the commission to go back, go back. There were the exact same charges, but on the people in the apartment next to them where the bullets went through that are
Okay.
alive, uninjured, and against Breonna Taylor, her civil rights violations, they said were violated by him, even though he's not the one that shot her. Really weird.
Yeah.
And she's probably dead or possibly dead at the time. And if the person's dead, you can't violate their civil rights.
Right.
So they finally came back. She's like, well, can you come to a verdict on anything? And they were like, yeah, we came on one count, which was the neighbors. They come out not guilty. So I'm thinking, oh, at worst, it's going to be a hung jury then on Breonna Taylor, because these
Right.
people are alive. If you didn't violate their civil rights and they're alive,
How are you violating a dead person's? Right.
and so as they're leaving the third time where she gives them, I can't remember whatever that charge is, where they got to go back and do it again and keep
Sure.
trying, keep deliberating. She gives them that, and the jurors asked a question. They said, how do we know if she was alive or dead? And the judge said, you've got to presume she was alive. That's not the judge's job. She overstepped. I mean, that's grounds right there for a retrial,
Right.
Or whatever they call it down the road.
Right.
And so,
An appeal. Yeah.
an appeal.
Yeah, man.
Thank you. So,
Well,
so they came back. Four of the jurors were crying as they came back in.
they knew it wasn't right, man. They
Yeah.
knew it wasn't
and
right.
they found him guilty.
I'm hoping that appeal process will work for him. And they didn't take him into custody, did they?
No.
So he's still out on
The
bond.
original sentencing date was supposed to be March 12th, which was when we briefed for this warrant. I don't know if the judge did that on purpose. Really bizarre, the 5-year anniversary.
Yeah.
And they've now bumped it back to April. I think she caught some heat for it because it made the news, and
So we're trying to incite more emotion and less fact.
Yeah. So it's just been a whole debacle, man. It's been a mess.
Johnny. And so this whole situation plays out. Never in a million years would you have ever thought that you would have been in this position,
Right.
that your family would be in this position. The facts come out. And there's still people. It's amazing. Like, I don't know how people exist. Like, I cannot like something, but the facts are the facts. Like, I don't like it, and maybe I don't like it, but you're wearing a baseball cap. I don't have to like the baseball cap, but you're wearing one. That's a fact.
Yeah.
And so I think, I don't want to say naively, but I bet, knowing now what you know, so mainstream media, like, is going to give you an opportunity to clear your name, man, to address all the things that should have been absolutely addressed throughout this whole process. Because if they were, this would be a non-event, a non-issue. This would be one of 100 deadly force encounters where bad guy goes to jail, good guy goes home. Mm-hmm. And so you sit down with some
like a
Strahan.
Yeah.
And you have an interview that lasts for significant 3 hours. Yeah. Talk to me about that, bro, because I when I saw that, I was like, oh, John, I was like, man. Go ahead, brother.
Well, the mistake was, you're right, being a little naive. The mistake was we should have recorded it ourselves as well. That way we could put out the entire thing. Yeah. Because he got trucked during that whole interview, right? Everything he brought up was countered. and he didn't really have answers for it, and it turned into his personal feelings, what he feels. And I'm like, dude, it don't matter what you feel. The truth is the only thing that matters. His
Right,
truth.
man. That's the only litmus test here is the truth.
Yeah, that's what he kept saying. Well, it's my truth. And I'm like, Michael, your truth don't matter, dude.
No,
My truth don't matter. It's only what the real truth
that's
is,
yeah,
and it's documented. And if it's been looked at and verified, we can't argue it. Whether I
yeah,
like it or not, whether you like it or not, it's the truth.
right.
So we sit down, we go in, and there was no chumminess. You walk in, and from the go, it's sit down and just like I was on the defense stand, fire, fire, fire. It was not a friendly interview. It was
Right,
very hostile. And they took some of the clips and twisted them around like they always do. And out of 3.5 hours of nonstop talk, no break,
right,
they made a 5 minute segment on it.
right.
And they interviewed Kenneth Walker, and it was like, oh, poor baby, did they do you
Oh,
wrong? Oh, let's see the shoes
yeah.
you just bought that you had bought together for her, and the ring he had just gotten from his grandma that they were going to give. They were going to get married. Yet he's having phone sex with a girl on the
Bringing his
another one's getting married.
turning his life around.
Oh yeah, good guy. He was getting ready to get a job. All
Yeah,
of these things. And
dude.
you come to find out when they downloaded his phone, he's selling dope. He's talking about home invasions. He's a really good guy. So let's
Yeah,
praise him on national TV and let's dog the cops because all in total that day there was like 140 years experience at that door, and we're going to believe this criminal
yeah,
over 140 years of experience. Yeah, it's unbelievable.
yeah. It's I I sat back and after reading the book, one, I'm thankful. Like I'm thankful that you stayed in the fight, bro. I'm thankful that I know this took a toll. There's no way for it not to. I know it's taken a toll on your family
Yeah.
and everybody that loves you. But as I got to the end and you talk about it, it was redefining for you in all the right ways, man. It brought family, I think. I don't want to say that it wasn't in the forefront to begin with, but we have a tendency, man, to go all in at work, and sometimes family gets left in the rear view a little bit.
Yeah.
And this situation, man, you relying on them, your folks, um, your wife, your kids, huge.
Yeah, there's definitely been some silver linings, and you've got to take them, right?
Right.
If
So
we're going to
give them
add
to me,
some
Johnny.
meat,
Get this whole shit show of a situation. What's some of the positives that you're walking away with, brother?
well, the main one is what you're talking about, family. Like my parents, because of the hits, had to move out of their house as well, and they stayed with us probably for 6 months.
Mm.
So I got to be with my parents 24 hours a day, which hadn't been that way since I was in high school.
Yeah, man.
Even then, in high school, you're never home. So this was
Right.
like when I was a child, I guess. So I got to experience that. My fourth child, which was my youngest, there's a big age gap between my older kids and my youngest. He was 5 at the time.
Okay.
And my next closest to him was 19. So there's a big age gap. And I was able to spend time with him and still do, unlike I was with my first 3 children. So that's been just
Yeah, man.
such a blessing in itself. Now, what we talked about off air is, all the guys I thought were friends turned out to be work acquaintances
Right.
because they just kind of disappear. And understandably, during this time period, it would have been selfish of me to be, oh, aren't you checking up on me? Oh, woe is me, poor me. Because those dudes were in the middle of riots for a year in Louisville. They went on for a
Crazy.
year,
Right.
off and on. I mean, they were busy, busy guys. Plus, they got their own family. Plus, they got their own problems that come up. So it would have been selfish for me to go, aren't you checking in on me? But there was still a handful that kept doing it. And that's
man.
where you know your real ones are. That's the ones that you can rely on. But it goes from a huge pool to very little when you're going through the
Yeah,
real deep.
John. Yeah, that's my dad, before he passed, he had told me, if when you get to be my age, and when he was telling me, he was in his 50s, if you can count on one hand the friends that you have, the guys that you can call at 3 a.m. that will drop everything, right? Show up to your house with a bag of lye and a shovel and say,
Yeah.
what are we doing? you're a lucky, blessed man, you
Right.
know. And that's, I think, sometimes we've got a million of acquaintances, man, but it takes something like this, something that you went through, to really redefine what friendship is and what family is. And I'm appreciate you sharing that silver lining, man, those positives that came from this. Um, Anything you want to end with, John? Anything that you want the listener to know or you want to share before we
Yeah.
wrap this thing up, brother?
Yeah, man. When you're going through hard times, and everybody does, you don't have to go through what I went through people are financially hurting, or family with cancer, lost a loved one, going through a hard divorce, getting fired from a job, or indicted by, crazy prosecutors nowadays. Man, when you're going through that, the biggest word of advice I got, number one, is faith. I'm a faith guy, so I relied on God, and that did help my faith get stronger. Because at times those loads were heavy, man, and I just was like, I can't do it anymore.
Right.
And I would give it to God, and He would take it. But secondly, is just you've got to make a decision. Life is made of nothing but decisions, and I made a decision after a few months of this thing eating me up, being bitter, looking for ways to get back at people, all that stuff that we do. I finally went, you know what? I am letting this small phase of my life control my entire life.
Mm.
It's controlling, and I don't want it to do that the rest of my life, because then I'm wasted. All this time I've spent calculating, pissed off, all these things am I missing out on blessings and opportunities?
Mm.
Probably. So I tucked that away and said, you know what? I can't control that. I can't. I
Right.
can be mad about it, and it still revisits every once in a while. I still get bitter once in a while.
Sure.
I'm not this perfect human being, but at the same time, I made a choice one day to say, I'm not letting that control me.
Mm.
I am going to be in control of my life. I can't control things, but I can control how I react to them. And that's what I'm going to do. And that made a huge difference. And it was a turning point in this event that mentally helped me get through this so much better than any counselor I could talk to, any friends I could lean on, all that stuff. It was up here in my own head where I said, get out of the way and just keep pushing forward.
I love it, man. I That's great advice, man, for any obstacle that we face, man.
Anything.
And I appreciate you sharing that. Folks, the book is 12 Seconds in the Dark, a police officer's firsthand account of the Breonna Taylor raid. We have been sitting down talking with Sergeant John Mattingly. Brother, man, I appreciate your time. I am so glad you are here, and that you've weathered this storm and that you're out there um, trying to hold our leaders accountable to just doing what they should do all on any given day, man, which is having the backs of your people and just, and not being afraid of the truth, right?
Let me say one more quick thing if there's any
Please,
leaders
John.
listening.
Please, man.
So when I talk, I travel the country now and talk. And when I talk to leaders, I look at them right in the eyeballs and I'm
Yeah.
like, when you took this job, you put a gun and a badge on and you knew you could lay your life down for your community, right? Every one of them, yes, proudly, yes. I knew the risk of this job. I knew it. And I'm like, well, now that you're in a leadership position, are you willing to lose your job over protecting the guys that serve with you and under you? Because a lot of times that's the problem. These guys are so self-absorbed and so worried about their career, what they're going to do after this, what chief position they're going to get, or what job in the federal government they're going to get, that they are willing to throw the very guys that got them there under the bus. If you're willing to die for your community, can you not at least stand up for the guys who are doing the right thing, the
Yeah.
thing you
Isn't
trained them
that
to do, the
something,
thing you
John?
equipped them to do, the thing you told them to do? Because they're not doing it.
No.
And it's very hypocritical, and it's costing a lot of carnage in this career. You look at the public, the safety, because there's so few law enforcement. The good guys have gotten out. I'm
Right.
not saying all the good guys. I'm saying the guys with the experience at the top, the
Right.
older guys have all been like, this ain't worth it anymore. And
Yeah.
they
Time to
bailed.
change. Time to do something
It's
different.
leadership's fault. So let's change
Right.
leadership.
And John, I apologize. So if I'm going to put your information in the show notes, but talk to me about what you're doing with 12 Seconds in the Dark. You're speaking, you're traveling around the country. How do we get in touch with you to do that? How do we if you have any upcoming speaking engagements, please let us know.
Yeah, go to johnmattingly.com, JOHNMATTINGLY.com. You can book on there. You can buy a signed copy of the book. It's got a link for Amazon, which is cheaper to get it on Amazon, but it's whatever you want to do. If you need to reach me, do it there. If you've got a department that, man, you want them to see how to get through trouble, how to get resilient, how to do the things that we need to do as police officers, give me a call. We'll set something up, and I'd love to come out and talk to you.
That's awesome. Ladies and gentlemen, John Mattingly. Thank you, brother.
Thanks, John. Appreciate you.
And that is that, my friend.
Nice.
Good deal, bro. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Appreciate you having me.
That was great, bro.